Hey, welcome back. Now, a few days ago, I decided to do a EFL Championship prediction for the rest of the season. Since we're more or less at the midway point, we're just before Christmas, I'm going to do the same with the Premier League. Again, we're going to use the same format as we did last time, so when it comes to doing games that have been postponed, such as Burnley versus Tottenham, or Brighton versus Tottenham, or Leicester versus Tottenham, for example, we are going to be filling them in at a later date during the season. Hopefully the season goes on, hopefully we don't go into another lockdown, and hopefully there isn't too many more postponed games, but I guess we'll see. Anyway, we're going to start with the upcoming fixtures, so any game that has a time stamp on it we are going to fill in, and any game that doesn't we'll fill in at a later time. So for example, Liverpool, Leeds, Wolves, Watford are both postponed this weekend, so we'll fill them in at later times. So without further ado, let's get into it. Now we start off with Burnley versus Everton, and I think Everton are in pretty poor form. I know we got a recent win against Arsenal. Burnley aren't doing brilliantly, but for this one I think it'd be fair to say it will be 1-1. Manchester City are flying high at the top of the division. Leicester have had a very mediocre season in comparison to previous seasons in the Premier League. For that, I'm going to go 2-0 to Manchester City. Norwich are doing what Norwich usually do and sitting at the bottom of the division. Arsenal are in really good form at the minute. I think 3-1 Arsenal. Tottenham versus Crystal Palace. Now for me, Tottenham are one of them up and down teams. Crystal Palace are a little bit like Tottenham in my eyes, but not as good. They're also an up and down team. Either team could surprise you. I'm actually going to go 2-1 to Crystal Palace. West Ham are having another good season, getting Europa League last season. Again, they're having a good season this season. It's not as good as it was earlier on. They've not really been picking up results recently, you know. See, they lost 2-0 at Arsenal last time out, and the time before they drew 0-0 against Burnley. But even based on current form, I think a 1-0 West Ham United win is on the cards. Then we got Villa against Chelsea. Again, Chelsea dropping points and results recently, but I think they'll bounce back from this, and I think it'll be 2-1 Chelsea. Brighton had a very good start to the season and since dropped off. I'm going to go 2-2 versus Brentford. And then Newcastle versus Manchester United on Monday night. I think Newcastle are really poor at the minute, despite their investment. They might make investments in January. It means it's going to be harder to predict around January onwards for Newcastle. But with the current team and current form, I think I'm going to go to a Manchester United 3-0 victory. So after those games, we have Man City sitting top and Norwich sitting bottom. Nothing really changes there. Into the next set of fixtures, we're going to have Arsenal 2, Wolverhampton Wanderers 1, and then a 1-1 between Crystal Palace and Norwich. We're going to go 1-0 to Tottenham at Southampton. I'm going to go 1-1 between Watford and West Ham. Leeds to beat Villa by 2-1, and Liverpool to win 2-0 away to Leicester. And then moving into the fixtures on the following day, we're going to have 3-0 to Chelsea versus Brighton. 1-1 between Brentford and Man City, Everton 2, Newcastle 1, and Manchester United 2, Burnley 0. Now, I know some of you might think, Brentford haven't got a chance of getting anything against Man City. I can tell you from personal experience, on your first season in the Premier League when you've just been promoted, there's always one season that does really well. For us, it was Sheffield United a few years ago, and then we had Leeds last year, and Brentford this year. Always your surprise package. And we pick up surprise results against teams that you don't expect, so that's why I'm going to go 1-1 draw versus Manchester City. Into the next game, this is going to be a hard one to predict because Arsenal are in incredible form and Man City are flying at the top. I think it'll be a very, very big goal fest game, and I'm going to go 3-2 Man City. We're going to go 1-0 Watford against Tottenham, 2-1 to Leicester versus Norwich, and 1-1 Palace West Ham. And then we're going to go a 2-0 victory to Villa at Brentford, 2-1 to Brighton at Everton, 1-0 to Southampton against Newcastle, and 1-1 between Leeds and Burnley. Chelsea versus Liverpool, I'm going to put down as a 2-2, and Manchester United to lose 1-0 at home to Wolverhampton Wanderers. And that is in the new year. So from the 14th onward, after the first FA Cup round, we're going to go in the derby match between Brighton and Crystal Palace, a 3-1 home victory. And then 2-0 to Man City against Chelsea. 4-1 to Liverpool against Brentford. I'm going to go 1-0 Norwich win versus Everton. 0-0 between Burnley and Leicester. 2-1 to Wolves against Southampton. 1-1 between Newcastle and Watford. And 2-1 to Manchester United at Villa. And then in the following fixtures, we're going to go 2-0 West Ham versus Leeds. And 2-1 to Tottenham against Arsenal in the North London derby. 2 back-to-back defeats for Arsenal, but I think we could bounce back from that. So looking at the current table, Newcastle would have dropped to bottom 3 points behind Norwich at this point. But bear in mind, with their big money investors, they'll definitely be making big money signings. I can't guarantee that they'll be the signings that teams expect them to get over. Newcastle expect to get, I guess, Newcastle are like, oh, we'll get Haaland, we'll get Mbappe. That's not going to happen. There's no incentive for players like Mbappe and Haaland to leave their current clubs to go to Newcastle right now. Newcastle are fighting off relegation, so because of that, we might sign a couple of players like Tarkowski from Burnley. Maybe get Saul from Watford or something. We might get some good talent from clubs around them or high potential championship players to begin with. Either way, they'll build their club so they become better by the end of the season, and if they do stay up, they'll base their foundation on that, and they'll buy players that are quite good but aren't at big clubs, for example. Like we won't go out of the way and sign someone like Aubameyang from Arsenal, because there'd be no incentive if Arsenal get Champions League for Aubameyang to leave to go to Newcastle. It wouldn't happen. Realistically, it wouldn't happen unless they just throw a load of money in, which they might do, but still, you can't guarantee that'll happen. And that's just a waste of money. Build themselves up, 3-4 year plan. 5 years time, they might be Champions League contenders. You never know. Like Man City did, I guess. We didn't spend all their money on players straight away, on big players. They got some names like Robinho, for example, who was an up and coming young player, and he turned out to be really good for them. We got Aguero when he was young, David Silva when he was young. They were big players then, like they were up and coming players, but they weren't massive like they are today. De Bruyne, when he signed for Man City from Wolfsburg, was nowhere near the talent he is now. They just built the foundation on buying players that were up and coming and developed them into much better. So, starting us off, we're going to go 2-2 Watford versus Norwich on the 21st of January. And then we got Aston Villa away to Everton, will be a 2-1 victory. A 3-0 victory for Arsenal versus Burnley. Brentford 1, Wolves 1. Leeds 2, Newcastle 2. Leicester City 2, Brighton 0. Manchester United 1, West Ham 1, and Southampton 1, Manchester City 2. Into the following day fixtures, we're going to go Liverpool to draw at Crystal Palace and Chelsea to beat Tottenham by 3-2. Now, do we have some space? We do. So, because we have a little bit of space in between games, we're going to fill some of these fixtures in that haven't been played. So, we're going to have Aston Villa 2, Burnley 1, Manchester United 3, Brighton 1, Southampton 0, Brentford 0, Watford 2, Crystal Palace 1, West Ham United 2, Norwich 0, and Everton 1, Leicester 1. So back to our next set of fixtures. We've got Brighton versus Chelsea. I'm assuming that's been called off, so we're going to go 2-0 Wolves against Arsenal. Norwich 1, Palace 1, Aston Villa 1, Leeds 0, Burnley 0, Manchester United 2, West Ham 1, Watford 1, and then on the following day we're going to have a first victory for Newcastle after the transfer window, beating Everton by 2-1, Tottenham to beat Southampton by 2-0, Manchester City to beat Brentford by 4-0, and Liverpool to beat Leicester by 2-1. Into our next set of fixtures, we're going to go Manchester United 1, Southampton 1, Brentford 2, Crystal Palace 0, Everton 3, Leeds 1, Watford 1, Brighton 1, Norwich 0, Manchester City 1, Burnley 1, Liverpool 3, Newcastle 2, Villa 1, Tottenham Hotspur 2, Wolverhampton Wanderers 0, and Leicester 0, West Ham 0. So, current table, Man U will have jumped into the top 4, Arsenal will have dropped out. Bearing in mind we haven't played a couple of fixtures here and there. Chelsea missing 2 consecutive fixtures. I'm assuming there's probably some reason for that. Because they played on the previous fixtures before that, so there's probably some reason for them not playing away to Brighton and not playing at home to Arsenal. There must be something going on there. I'm not really sure what that is. So moving into the next set of fixtures, we've got Arsenal 1, Brentford 0, Brighton and Hove Albion 2, Burnley 2. We're going to have a 2-0 Chelsea win at Palace, 1-0 to Southampton against Everton, 2-1 to Wolves against Leicester, 1-1 between Leeds and Man U, 3-0 to West Ham against Newcastle, 2-1 to Liverpool against Norwich, 4-1 to Man City against Tottenham, and 1-1 between Villa and Watford. We now have at least a week gap, so we'll fill some more games in. We'll go back to Burnley Tottenham, would be a 1-2. We could also get these ones done. So we got Liverpool 2, Leeds 0, and Wolves 1, Watford 1. So into our next set of fixtures, we got Brighton 1, Aston Villa 2, Crystal Palace 1, Burnley 0, Arsenal 2, Liverpool 1, Brentford 3, Newcastle 2, Chelsea 2, Leicester 0, Everton 0, Man City 2, Southampton 1, Norwich 1, Leeds 1, Tottenham 2, Manchester United 4, Watford 0, and West Ham United 2, Wolverhampton Wanderers 0. Moving into our next set of fixtures, we're going to have Newcastle 1, Brighton 0, Wolves 1, Palace 1, Watford 1, Arsenal 2, Norwich 2, Brentford 1, Burnley 1, Chelsea 3, Tottenham 2, Everton 0, Villa 2, Southampton 2, Leicester 2, Leeds 1, Manchester City 4, Manchester United 2, and 2-0 Liverpool versus West Ham. We now have another week gap, so we'll fill some more fixtures in. We'll get Brighton versus Chelsea 1-1. We'll get Brentford 2, Man United 2, Burnley 0, Watford 2, and Leicester City 1, Tottenham 1. So we filled out some more fixtures into the next set of games. We have Brighton kicking off against Liverpool. Will be 4-1 to the away side. 3-0 victory for Man City at Palace. 2-1 to Arsenal against Leicester. Brentford 1, Burnley 0. Newcastle to draw 1-1 at Stamford Bridge. Everton to beat Wolves. Southampton to beat Watford. Leeds to beat Norwich. Man U 1, Tottenham 1, and Villa to win at West Ham. And we got Aston Villa 2, Arsenal 2, Leicester 2, Brentford 0, Manchester City 3, Brighton 2, Norwich 2, Chelsea 3, Newcastle to beat Palace, 0-0 between Watford and Everton, 1-0 to Leeds at Wolverhampton Wanderers, 2-1 to Liverpool against Man U, 1-0 to Burnley against Southampton, and 2-2 between Tottenham and West Ham. We now have a gap. It will be international break, but we get a game or two in before that. Pardon me. Yeah, so we have remaining fixtures between Brighton and Tottenham will be 2-1. And also between Chelsea and Arsenal will be 3-1 to Chelsea. Everybody should be on 30 games now. So coming in after the international break, we have got Brighton versus Norwich will be 2-1 to Norwich. Arsenal to win 1-0 at Palace. 1-1 between Burnley and Man City. Again, Man City dropping points. 2-0 to Chelsea against Brentford. 5-0 Liverpool versus Watford. Leeds 1, Southampton 1. Man United 2, Leicester 1. Tottenham 2, Newcastle 0. West Ham United 0, Everton 1. And Wolverhampton Wanderers 2, Aston Villa 1. And we have 3-0 Arsenal, 1-1 Norwich, 2-1 Chelsea, 2-0 Leicester, 2-1 Watford, 1-1 Liverpool at Man City, 1-0 to Everton against Manchester United, Tottenham to win at Villa, West Ham to win at Brentford, and Newcastle to beat Wolves. On to the 16th of April, we've got 1-1, 1-0, 0-2, 1-0, 2-3, 2-0, 2-1, 2-0, 4-0, and 0-2. So Newcastle climbing out of the relegation zone with 5 games remaining. Burnley sitting bottom 10 points adrift of safety. Leeds and Norwich also in the relegation zone. Despite Brighton's amazing start to the season, we find themselves in 17th. Southampton, Palace not too far off of the relegation zones themselves. Brentford, Watford, Everton, Leicester, Wolves, Villa all sort of mid-table-ish, with West Ham, Man U still in the tie for 5th place, but unlikely. Tottenham in 5th, Arsenal in 4th, battling it out for Champions League, with Liverpool and Chelsea battling it out for 2nd and 3rd, and Man City comfortably clear by 8 points at the top of the division. So we're going to have Leicester 1, Villa 0, Manchester United to draw 1-1 at the Emirates, Brighton to beat Southampton, 2-1 to Man City, 1-1 Brentford Tottenham, 1-0 to Crystal Palace against Leeds, Burnley to beat Wolves by 2-1, Norwich to beat Newcastle by 1-0, West Ham to win at Chelsea by 2-1, and we're going to have 5-1 to Liverpool against Everton in the derby match. 35th fixture, we're going to have 2-0 Villa, 1-1 Everton, 1-0 Southampton, 2-1 Watford, 4-1 to Man City, 2-0 Man U, 2-0 Liverpool, 1-0 Tottenham, 1-0 West Ham, and 1-1 between Wolves and Brighton. So with 3 games remaining, still 8 points clear at the top. Man City, the next game could win them the league. Liverpool now 6 points ahead of Chelsea, Tottenham in 4th, Arsenal in 5th, West Ham in 6th, and Man U in 7th. Still all battling it out for the top 4th and 5th position. Villa, Leicester, Wolves, Everton, Watford, all comfortably mid-table at this point. Brentford still with an outside chance of dropping into the relegation zone, but unlikely. Same for Palace, Brighton and Southampton. Newcastle, Leeds and Norwich all battling it out for who will be relegated. 8 points adrift, Burnley could be relegated in their next fixture if they lose. Burnley playing at home to Villa will be 1-1. 1-0 Leicester against Everton. 2-0 to Arsenal against Leeds. Man U to win 2-1 at Brighton. 3-0 to Man City against Newcastle. 1-1 Brentford, Southampton. Liverpool 1, Tottenham 0. Crystal Palace 2, Watford 0. Norwich 0, West Ham 1. And Chelsea 3, Wolves 0. So 2 games remaining. Arsenal jump back into the top 4. West Ham and Man U just 2 points and 3 points off of 5th place Tottenham. Leeds still in relegation. Norwich 4 points adrift, looks like they could be relegated. 7 points behind of Burnley, so they are relegated. Man City have won the league at the top of the table at the summit. Next set of fixtures, we're going to have 2-1 Palace, 3-0 Everton, 1-1 Southampton and Liverpool, 2-1 to Watford, 1-0 to Leeds, 1-1, 1-2, 2-0, 2-3 and 2-0. So Tottenham have secured 5th with their 2-0 victory against Burnley, who are already relegated. Norwich consolidation. So then they drop to the Championship on 27 points currently with a game left. 5 points adrift. Newcastle back into the relegation zone after a 2-1 defeat at home to Arsenal. Leeds beating Brighton, so they jump out of the relegation zone. Brighton could still be relegated, but Newcastle would have to overturn a 15-goal deficit, which doesn't look very likely. Brentford safe, Southampton safe, so good news for those teams. Palace, Watford, Everton, Wolves, Leicester, Villa, still mid-table teams. Man U and West Ham now can't make the top 5. Arsenal are in 4th and 1 game away from getting Champions League football next season. Chelsea finished 3rd, Liverpool finished 2nd, and Man City champions. Into the final game of the season, we're going to have 4-2 to Arsenal, 2-0 to Brentford, 2-1 to Brighton, 1-0 to Burnley, 1-0 to Chelsea, 1-1 between Palace and Man U, 2-1 to Southampton, 5-0 to Liverpool, 1-0 to Villa and 2-1 to Norwich. So Newcastle, despite their investment, will be relegated. Now, I don't know what that means for the future for Newcastle. I don't know if their investors will look at that situation and back out and go elsewhere, somewhere like Palace, Watford, Leeds, something like that. I'm not sure. It's always a possibility. It could always happen. Or if they'll stick by the guns because they've signed up with Newcastle, they'll stick to this club. It is a big club, let's be honest. You get a lot of fans. Very, very enthusiastic fan base too. They stick by the team no matter what. In the Championship, they'll still sell 50,000 seats every game, so every home game. So yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if the investors did stick by them because they could guarantee they'll get their money back if they do go back up. I guess we'll see what will happen. Norwich and Burnley joining them in the Championship. Leeds survive on the final day of the season despite a 2-0 defeat away to Brentford. Speaking of Brentford, their first season in the Premier League is a good one, finishing in 14th on 39 points, 8 points clear of the relegation zone. A very good finish for them. Everton might have been punching beneath their weight. Not really where they wanted to finish in 11th. Watford, the highest of the 3 promoted teams, finishing in 12th. Good season for them. Wolves maybe a little bit under par. Leicester definitely under par. West Ham finishing 7th. Isn't really that bad. I know they got Europa League last season. With their current squad, 7th really wouldn't be a bad finish. I know they'd be hoping for more, but it wouldn't be a bad finish. Man United in 6th is definitely not what we wanted. Tottenham 5th, I'm sure they'd be alright with Europa League. Maybe they'd have wanted Champions League, but Europa League isn't the worst. 4th place for Arsenal, great improvement on previous seasons. Chelsea in 3rd. Looking like they're developing a squad good enough to challenge for the top of the table, but not quite there yet. Liverpool and Man City still the elite in the league, but Man City taking the title this season. Man City, for me, when it comes to league play, have that little bit of an edge over Liverpool in terms of like how good their squad is. Don't get me wrong, Liverpool is still an incredible squad for the Premier League. Definitely top 2 every season. Minimum, I'd say, would be top 4 every season for a long time. But Man City, for me, at the current minute, have that little bit of an edge over Liverpool. Anyway, considering our Championship predictions, we had Fulham and Blackburn to come up via top 2, automatic promotion. I'm pretty sure I had QPR to win the playoffs, if I remember correctly. So that would be QPR, Fulham and Blackburn to go up, which means only one of the relegated teams from last season would be returning to the Premier League. So, anyway guys, thank you for watching. I do appreciate it. Let me know what your thoughts are on my prediction, and let me know where you think teams will finish this season based on the games remaining. And take care and have a good Christmas. Have a very good Merry Christmas, one and all, and a Happy New Year.